Welcome back to My Conscious Dad on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. So before we went on the break, we were talking about, commitments and some of the things that opened up for me in the training. Another thing that I wanted to share was if you missed this training, you really missed a training, because one of my biggest, learning lessons and experiences come out of the other people who are in the room. And for me, this one was probably the most powerful, just because there was couples in there with, 10 years, 30 years. So it was exciting and a little bit scary to see what could happen if you're in a conscious relationship. And then it was a little bit scary to see what could happen if you're unconscious in a relationship. So I always have my best learning experiences when I can relate to other people who have gone through things that I haven't gone through yet.
And I think that's what makes the training so powerful, is that I'm not the only one up there, breaking down distinctions or sharing insight or opening up possibilities or getting you to see certain things. But through some of the sharing and some of the ways that you notice other couples interact with each other in this kind of a setting, really is a learning lesson in itself. Just observing and watching and, through third party perspective is so powerful. And you can't pay for that. You can't go to a place and really learn those kinds of things. You can pay for it, but it's usually in a transformational training, and it's usually in most of the trainings that I do. And that's what's such powerful insight and such deep learning and outside the box thinking, is when you get into a room like that where people are willing to open up and share, and you're able to see it from not just one perspective, but 7 different perspectives. And that's when you have those just powerful breakthrough aha moments.
Yeah, my favorite part is there's a question and answer Q&A kind of hour, and when some people ask their question to you, and before you can even get your answer out, there's other people who are already like, let me tell you what to do. Let me tell you what I did, or in my experience. And it's really cool because you get if there's 50 people in the training, you get 50 different perspectives. Everybody has something to say on a topic, especially when you're young. Like for me, everybody in the room could probably answer my question or have an example of experience they went through the same
and they're all powerful, and they're all amazing insight. I mean, that's what's so profound about it. And it's funny because this weekend, I know there was more than a couple. It was probably about a handful of people that actually acknowledged both you and Adrian for being at a training and being so young. You had different ages, but some of the older ones, they were looking back going, man, I think some of the most powerful sharing that they gave you guys was, if only I was at your age and something like this, I would have saved myself a world of probably pain and suffering, and I would have put me on a different path to really learning how to make my relationships really work and win big.
Yeah, it's funny because in my sharing or in my experiences and in the exercises, I was trying to compare myself, or not compare myself, but put myself in those other people's relationships and put myself in their shoes, just because I could understand how they got there. I can understand how they love someone so much that they're here today to do this or whatever. So that's just my favorite part every time is being with those people, and then also knowing they're on the same page. Everybody in that room wanted to have better relationships. Even the singles, there's some single men and some single women who their commitment to their future partner who doesn't even exist yet is so inspiring to me. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, isn't that awesome? It was always captivating to me is when we'll say there's different examples, both wife and husband, but I'll just use this example. When a wife brings her husband, makes him come or forces him to come, and he'll come, and he won't say it out loud that he's being forced, but you can tell that he's been invited and doesn't really want to be there, or is nervous and uncomfortable to go there. And then 5 or 6 hours later, or that next morning, you see him sharing and he's breaking down, or he's grabbing tissue because he's able to tap into that deep sense of love that he has for his wife. And he probably would have never given himself permission to tap into that unless something tragic happened, like the loss of a loved one or something. We always wait for something tragic to happen for us to have those deep, profound learning lessons where we all of a sudden change courses, and now all of a sudden listen to our loved ones a little bit more intently, and we decide to not take them for granted and all that kind of stuff. But what if you can have that kind of a wake-up call where you don't have something traumatic? What if you're able to get into a training room and cause those kinds of wake-up calls for yourself that are that profound that it really causes a shift in your journey and in your relationships?
Yeah, and another thing I just wanted to point out was in my experience, I've only been to one other relationship workshop, and I was there as a single, so it was a completely different experience for me. However, that was maybe 2 years ago. So the relationship workshop doesn't really come around as often as the teen workshop, the young adult, the women's workshop, self-awareness. All of those are a lot more common than the relationship workshop, which I wish I would have stressed more last week, just so everybody would know, like, this relationship workshop probably won't come around for another 2 years.
Everyone says that. Everyone that goes in there, it's their biggest regret when they come out. We do what opened up, what'd you learn, what'd you share, and what's your biggest regret? And 98% of the time, it's my biggest regret is not having my 18-year-old daughter here, or my 30-year-old son, or I wish I would have brought so and so here. And it's always like that. We're a creature of habit. We're a creature of living inside of our comfort zone. And most of us, when we sign up, we don't even want to go ourselves. Those of us that are seasoned veterans in this type of work, I was just talking to my youngest daughter and your mom the other night, and we were having an open and honest discussion about, even we've been doing it for 15, 20 years, and we still get knots in our stomach, and the ego still tries to come up with excuses to not be there, or all of a sudden now the universe wants to throw certain opportunities our way, and we have to say no to them because we got to force ourselves to get into that context to grow and learn and really have that deep level of awakening. And it takes a warrior attitude for you to really make a commitment to every 3 to 6 months go to that training room and you start doing work on yourself.
Yeah, it's crazy because I know what it feels like to walk out after that second day just on a mountaintop and like I can do anything. But I always seem to forget about it every time a training comes around, because anything could take precedence over this training, like at any moment, because I'm not 100% committed or willing or whatever. So it just so happens that most of the time when I wake up that morning, I'm like, I got to go. I made this commitment. So I do a lot of it.
And that's crazy that you have to talk yourself into keeping your word. And I gave my word. And if I don't go, my dad's going to, probably be upset at me. Or you got to go through all these different conversations rather than, no, I know on Sunday night I'm going to have that amazing, floating on a cloud experience. But it's no different than going to the gym. How many people every morning go, oh my God, I want to go, and they walk out, they're lit. They're
right. You never regret going to the gym. Yeah. It's just like all the stuff that you build up before that makes you sometimes even sick. Like, I don't want to go today.
That's right. So the trick is you have to force yourself. And if you've never been there, you have to force yourself to make the call and register. And you just have to, those are the things that make the difference between people that have average and ordinary relationships and those that create deep, meaningful, powerful, loving relationships with freedom and passion and joy and all those goodies that most people dream about. It takes work, and you have to work it.
Yeah, so if you were even considering at all, maybe, I'll show up on Saturday morning and see how I feel or whatever. If you were even considering that, next time, call right away, make the commitment, put your, fill your forms out, put your money down, so that way you have at least a little bit more drive to come in that Saturday morning and be ready, because some people, they don't mind losing the money because they got other commitments or whatever, but that is just another step. And like you said, that's what separates, the ordinary people and the extraordinary people.
And you'll be surprised how many people have really done the work and know the value, and they, a lot of times, make the commitment, put their fee down, and when it comes down to it, they let their fee go. It's like, I'll lose the $200 because, and then they've justified that, whatever it is that I'm going to do is more important, or even the fear, or just the laziness, or just a lot of people are run by their feelings, which is another distinction of the difference between leaders and not leaders. They're not run by their feelings. Leadership is driven by your commitment. No, I made a commitment, so even if I don't feel like going, I'm going to go anyways because I made my commitment, and my commitment is important to me, or my word's important to me.
Yeah, and not just not just your commitment, your word, which is, to me, it's very important. It should be important to everybody. But, we always say this, the first rule of being successful, or the first rule of leadership, is just showing up. So you can't get anything from...
And the second one is don't quit.
And don't quit. But you can't get anything out of anything if you don't show up first.
That's profound. Is that like in a bumper sticker, or...
It's our next KHTS bumper sticker.
Or should we just quote you and put it on the bumper sticker? So one of the things I really want to talk about before we end the show, or get close to that, is one of the most powerful distinctions in this relationship workshop is what an extraordinary relationship really looks like. And so what I do is I spend a good portion of the time breaking down this distinction of two individuals that have decided that they are already whole and complete 100%. And I draw a circle identifying each individual, and that circle is more like your emotional bucket. Let's call it like a propane tank. If your propane tank, which is a symbol of an emotional tank that you have within you, and self-awareness and self-confidence and assurance and knowing who you are and living fully like that, if that's 100% and your tank was only at 40%, and then you engaged into a relationship with someone else that has their tank at a 60%, what you're doing is you're entering in that relationship looking for what they have that you don't, to fulfill you. And fulfillment doesn't come from having somebody else give you those goodies or pouring their stuff into you, because what happens is if you have an empty tank, there's like a hole in there. And so if I'm with you because there's something that you need, something that goodies that you give me, they're going to be poured into my tank, and then it's going to be pouring out through the hole. And so extraordinary relationships looks like two people working on themselves, and as they're working on themselves, they're becoming 100% whole and complete as they are. And then what they decide to do is they decide to engage in a relationship where all they do is look at the relationship as an opportunity to share their life with each other. That's it. So your relationship is really about just sharing yourself, sharing what happened in your day, sharing your fears, sharing your excitement, sharing your dreams. It's just an opportunity for me to share. And then out of that sharing, the relationship is a symbol for you to decide what you're going to give to it, what you're going to contribute to, rather than I'm in this relationship because I need something, therefore I'm going to take this from the relationship. A lot of people enter relationships needing things, right? They're needy, and so they enter into relationships with the intention to take from the relationship. So what are you going to give me today? What goodie are you going to bring? What gift are you going to bring and offer me? Rather than, no, I'm in the relationship because I'm going to give to it. So I'm looking at, what do you need from me today, or what do I need to contribute so that I can experience myself as a loving, caring, giving person? I need to give that into the relationship.
Yeah, one of the things I kind of wanted, I guess, to me is important in a relationship was that you had gone over at the workshop, was knowing that even though somebody possesses a trait that you don't have, or you feel like you need, or that they could give you, one of the greatest gifts they could give you is inspiration. Just be inspired by that trait, and eventually hanging around them enough or being inspired by them enough will bring that trait out in you. It's not like you don't have it.
That's a great way to paint that picture. I love the way you articulated that. So if I'm in a relationship with you and you have a certain way that I am looking for, right, to fulfill in myself, what you're really doing is being the example every single day. And every time I see that, I'm in awe, going, I like that about you. I want a version of that for myself. And so as I'm watching you, I'm right there, like under your wing as a protege, to practice how you're doing what you're doing, so that I can practice how to be that version of myself. And that's a great way to look at it, rather than saying, I'm not going to practice being any version of that because I don't have that within me. That's something that's your quality and only you could be good at that, but I'm going to piggyback off it.
Yeah, one example that when you were going over that distinction, I was thinking to myself in the training was when my boyfriend was redoing his house, he was putting the new electrical sockets in, and I was like, oh, I'm so glad he knows how to do that, because, one day if I need that done, I don't need to know how to do it, he'll do it. And then he goes, come here, I want to show you how to do this. Oh, great. So, and now it's cool because now I know how to do it. And not just that, is I don't have to depend on him to do it, but it was cool because I was just going to let it go as if I don't need to learn that because I have him.
But that's the exact example of my relationship with you. When you were growing up, it was, I never wanted you to go, well, Dad will always be there, or Dad will do it for me. So that's why a lot of times I either let you struggle, or when you did ask me, and if I realized it was the first time of you doing it, I would do it, but I would do it with the intention to show you and teach you so that you can eventually do it for yourself. So that we can have a relationship where you don't need me and I'm not needed, and it's a codependency, but we can be both freed up to be able to give to the relationship where it's not, I'm enabling you.
All right, and another cool thing, just to think about it, this works for every relationship. Like you just described it for a parent-child relationship, but it works for your friends, your brother, your sister, anything. Because for a long time, I treated my sister like she couldn't do anything. So every time she asked, I was right there because
move out the way. Let me show you
let me just do it because I've showed you 100 times. Let me just do it. So
and that implies that they're not smart enough to do it. That's almost like you're basically, and you're not saying it flat out or directly, but indirectly you're saying, I don't believe you know what it takes. Let me show you what I can do, and I'll do it for you.
Yeah, and I know now that a lot of the things I did contributed to my sister's either insecurities or her beliefs that she can or can't do something. So just keep in mind that you could be parenting to your 100% and just know that your other kids are influencing their siblings too.
So guess what I just got clarity about right now?
Okay, go.
You asked me to come with you today after the show because you want to buy a car. And you asked me to go sit with you to negotiate for you. And guess what I'm not going to do?
Negotiate for
I'll
me?
be there to support you, but I just got clarity. If I negotiate for you, then you're not going to learn. So I'll go to support you, and I got your back, and I'll be your backup. But you're going to learn how to negotiate for yourself. Now I'm excited.
Now I'm scared. No, I was already scared to begin with, but this really is a good opportunity. And the reason why I asked you to go with me, because my mom went with me yesterday. My mom is she'll just do it because she can. And she's great at it. So I guess there's no reason why the universe made it so that you were the only one available to go with me, because if not, it would have been her. So I think it's funny how that played out.
Yeah, and the loving father in me wants to go in and be that tool for you and be that gift and go in and rescue you and walk out and bang my chest and go, look what I got for my daughter. But that's not going to help you long term. Long term is knowing that I sat there and I just got to be a symbol of strength and support for you, but watching you figuring it out for yourself. Even if you don't hit a home run, even if you get a base hit or a double, we're still good with that because I didn't come in and rescue you.
And that's another thing that it's a completely different show, but I just want to point it out real quick, is a lot of parents, in my experience, I've noticed they need to be needed. So they want their kids to say, hey, I need you to come help me do this. And they want to take over and start doing the whole project, where it's for them. They're selfishly, they want to be like, look what I did for my son, look what I did.
And those are the most challenging parents to coach when they come to me and say, I need your help. And I go, okay, what help do you need? I need you to help my son. I need you to help my daughter. And then when I interact with the son or daughter or interact with them, and I can obviously see that the parents are codependent, getting them to see that is the most challenging part. And what ends up happening is I end up becoming the one that's bound and wrong. I'm the worst life coach in the world, and then they go try to find somebody else. But that's really the breakthrough that they need to have, is somebody that's willing and has the courage to say, hey, part of what's happening in the dysfunction of your son or daughter is because you're in there with your dysfunction, and I need to help you work through that first. And a lot of parents don't want to hear that. That's not, they want the magic dust, and
it's definitely hard to accept.
They want the Band-Aids. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we'll get right back after the break. Stay tuned for more of My Conscious Dad right here on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. Welcome back to My Conscious Dad on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. So today we were talking about, I guess, the effects or our experiences, my experience in the relationship course that we did this weekend. And one of the things I wanted to share was someone who inspired me, someone who I would like to acknowledge. anonymously, I guess. So this person really inspired me because I have different experiences of him throughout my life. So to see him being vulnerable, open up, and be very, I guess, open was really exciting for me to see. And I've been in the trainings with this person before many times, and I always have a good experience with him. But this time there was something different. There was some light about him. There was a lot of compassion, a lot of vulnerability that I felt coming from him. And I usually feel very safe with this person anyways, but I guess a little part of him reminds me of Adrian, my boyfriend, because he's very analytical, very
a deep thinker.
Yeah, and doesn't come off very vulnerable. So to see his sensitive side and to see him be vulnerable in whatever way that looks for him, this time I felt it and I experienced it. Because sometimes I've heard him say, I was vulnerable, I felt vulnerable, and I didn't experience that feeling. But this time I did, and I just wanted to acknowledge him. He's probably not listening to me right now, but if he is listening, which he should be, I just want to acknowledge you for that and for inspiring me this weekend.
Yeah, it was. I was inspired by everyone that attended, everyone that came out, gave themselves permission. A little bit of time. It's almost. I see the training almost like a popcorn machine. All these little kernels.
Okay.
The little kernels. Well, I need to explain it, and you're jumping to conclusions here. But every little kernel seems to hit their point where they're ready to just pop. And it's like this kernel pop and this kernel pop, and it happens all in different timings. So whether it's 3 hours into the first day or the 5th hour, or maybe it's the second day, the second experience or lecture or whatever it is, or sometimes during the sharing, you can see people's in their eyes. It tells you a lot. It's like there's a certain light force we have that's shining through our light called our being, and when that being opens up and goes to the next level, you can experience that in people. And for me, it was just like pop, 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 pop. People were just popping, and it was just an amazing experience, and I was inspired by everybody and their intention, especially to be vulnerable and open up and share and trust. Well, what a powerful weekend it was, and it was a lot of healing for me too. And it's every time I get in there, it's helping me go to the next level for myself too.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty used to sharing and crying in front of people. I think I just kind of grew up around that environment, but it's also very cool to see people who aren't used to stuff like that just sharing at all, because you could hear it in their voice, you could see it in their body language that this is so new to them, and they're nervous right now.
But this is the difference between when people ask, well, what's the difference between a seminar or what's the difference between a motivational workshop? It's not the same. And the reason why I say that is because the context of the training is in a loving, supportive environment, but it's also challenging. It forces you to get out of your comfort zone such that you actually have the breakthroughs necessary for you to become a different person, to peel away some stuff so you actually become that next level of yourself. Motivation and rah-rah is good. A lot of great information, a lot of great insight that people share with you, but it just goes one ear and then it goes up into your head and it just becomes oh, that was cool, or oh, that was awful, that was insightful. This is an experiential workshop where you're actually having the breakthrough through the experience, and so you're actually peeling off another layer of some of that emotional intelligence that you really need to access to become more enlightened in your life.
Yeah, and I feel bad. I didn't explain any of this to my boyfriend because I just wanted him to not be in his head so much and think about it. He thought it was going to be a lot of lecture, a lot of motivational seminar kind of stuff. He even shared that he thought it was going to be kind of like a battle of the couples kind of thing. Like, do you know what your significant other's favorite drink is, stuff like that.
Like a newlywed game.
Yeah. So I felt so bad. I didn't know he thought it was going to be like that. I thought me keeping quiet was funny, and I mean it still was. But he got a very unexpected dose of reality, I guess.
But I like that because no one prepped me for what I was going to experience, and that's I think what made it so powerful was I was able to just get in there, no expectation, and then call forth out my greatness.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today on My Conscious Dad. We're here every Friday from 1 to 2 p.m. right here on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.